It's UFC 310 fight week, and the boys are back. We got our full card predictions. We're going to start off with the early prelims, of course. But first of all, Dylan, how are you feeling overall? This is the final card of 2024, and it's been a crazy year for Dodson's Corner, for us watching UFC. Like, I don't know.
2024, it's like just felt like so long. Well, so at the same time, it's felt so short. Like, so much has happened in this year. We've had such great cards. Like, we built up Dodson's Corner in 2024. So it's like, it's going to be a special year forever. But 2025, we're on to bigger and better things. But I think that this card is an awesome way to kind of just cap off an awesome year of UFC. And it may not have the most star power, but just like from top to bottom, this card is so deep, so consistent, and it's going to be an amazing card.
Yeah, and even though we had the main event originally pull out with Bilal Muhammad, I do think that Garry versus Shavkat is almost a better fight. Like, I think it's going to be a more exciting matchup in terms of the striking exchanges. Bilal has a game plan, and we all know what it is, right? Yeah, it would have been exciting to see Shavkat be able to beat him, but I think Garry, someone loses their O. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting for a co-main, and then like we have the main event. We don't know what to expect. We genuinely don't know what to expect, so we're going in so blind with how Asakura is going to actually look inside of the UFC.
Exactly. Let's start off with the very first fight of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Lucas Brzeski. Yeah, well, you know we've struggled with his name in the past, but Nzechukwu had his last fight at UFC 308, so it's super recent. However, it was against our boy Chris Barnett. He got that first round TKO. It was a weird situation, though.
It was weird. Like, Chris Barnett was just like, it was during like his celebration before the fight, hurt himself, and then it was pretty easy pickings for Nzechukwu.
Exactly. So it wasn't really like a hard fought fight, and it was his first fight at heavyweight, Nzechukwu. So it's going to be interesting to see him fight against someone who is actually a natural heavyweight. But I do think that his natural size, Nzechukwu, is going to help him. Yeah. Because he's going to be way faster than most of those heavyweights. And he does have, like, for a heavyweight, he does have pretty skilled striking. I haven't seen him on the ground too much, but Brzeski isn't going to take him to the ground anyways.
Yeah, especially when you're like a smaller heavyweight like Nzechukwu. I don't know why we're not seeing these quick turnaround times more often. Like, if you come out there and get a really super easy finish, like, why not go fight next month? You know, 100%. Make some more money. Like, it's not like Nzechukwu took any damage to Chris Barnett. So
exactly.
Quick turnaround. Get another bag before 2024 ends.
Yeah, might as well. It's like a Christmas present. He's gonna go give his kids Christmas present. But yeah, like I said, I think he's gonna have a big speed advantage. He's a smaller heavyweight, and then if you watch Lucas Brzeski's fight with Walter Walker, you're gonna see that he looked pretty slow. So I think it's gonna be a pretty big, like, noticeable discrepancy in the speed. I think this should be a pretty easy lock for Nzechukwu. I think he has potential at heavyweight, so it should be fun to see him kind of move through the rankings eventually. And I'm thinking maybe second round TKO.
Yeah, I think that Nzechukwu, like, this is another one of those bottom feeder heavyweights that the UFC's feeding to him. Just build up some confidence, build up some credibility, and I also have him finishing Lucas Brzeski, but I have it in the first round.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on to our second fight. This is hype. We got Clay Guida, the old head, versus Chase Hooper, someone who's super young, super exciting in the UFC. He's been called the Charles Oliveira 2.0 because he had those like 3 losses in the beginning of his career. And now he's on, I think it's a 4-fight win streak. Yeah. So he's looked sensational his last fights. Like, let's be real. He absolutely dominated his last opponent. It's Borchev. I can't remember his first name, but he got the second round Darce choke, which was super fun to watch. He's only had a couple losses early in his career, like we mentioned, but he's on a 3-fight win streak right now, and they've all been super dominant wins. His only decision in his last 3 fights, he landed 149 strikes in a 3-round fight. Ooh. I'm pretty sure it broke a record, but don't quote me on that. Clay Guida, obviously, he's been through the ringer. He's been around the block. You know, he's Tarzan. I don't think like anyone could like offer him something that he hasn't seen before necessarily. That's right. True. Like, Chase Hooper isn't going to be able to do anything that Clay Guida hasn't seen other opponents do. But I do think in my more recent predictions, I'm going to just be taking in age as such a big factor now. It's
been screwing us over in our predictions.
I know. I'm just so high. I don't know if this is the right word, but like I'm so convinced that age plays a way bigger factor than we've thought in the past. So I'm gonna go for Chase Hooper here. I think there's gonna be again a noticeable speed and just like a hunger advantage, right? Chase Hooper wants it. He wants to be a big name in the UFC. He's has momentum. Clay Guida's on a losing streak right now, or he was on a losing streak. So I just don't see him being able to get a win.
And Chase Hooper got that plot armor. He'll be fine.
Exactly.
I got a round 2 KO for Chase Hooper. I just think that he's going to get it going. And one thing that I really like that Dana, I feel like he's been doing over the last few cards, and this is something that we really talked about, is using the early prelims and prelims for like these younger fighters and like getting them some momentum on pay-per-view cards rather than just toss them on like random fight nights. Like use these early prelims and these prelims to get the next generation, get them some confidence, get them to have some easy wins, and then you can just keep on building onto it. So where you have closer fights, like this fight's not like as big of a layup as some may think. Like it still is, like, I think Hooper's around a minus 200 favorite in this fight. I don't think he's like some crazy favorite, but you'd hope that Chase Hooper could go and get it done against a guy like Clay Guida.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only way that I see Clay Guida winning is if Chase Hooper, he's good at ground and pound. If he empties the tank on ground and pound, and then Clay Guida has infinite cardio, that's just what he does, and then he comes back in the second and third round and wins a decision, that's like the only way that I see him winning. But realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. All right, let's move on to our third fight of the evening. We got Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. Obviously, Michael Chiesa coming off that pretty easy win over Tony Ferguson in the first round.
He cheated.
We don't remember that. In the Abu Dhabi card in August. So he's making a decent turnaround time, which is always nice to see. Honestly, he probably doesn't have that much left in his career. Yeah. Like he's kind of like that Jim Miller. He has like 50 fights close to it. So Tony didn't look awful in that last fight either. Like he did have a good training camp. He looked confident coming into the fight. So it's always tough to gauge what a Tony Ferguson win means. Like, how good are you really?
But then you look at a guy like Paddy Pimblett who got that win, and it's like, oh, Paddy's actually pretty good. And then you look at like Bobby Green, you're like, oh, Bobby Green's not good.
Yeah, it's weird. Max Griffin, on the other hand, he's 20-10. He's durable, but he doesn't have enough volume to really finish most of his fights. He's very timid, and he almost reminds me of some of those rounds that Jonathan Martinez was putting up against McGee in the last pay-per-view card. It was just like, you're not when you're throwing, you're landing, but you're not throwing enough to ever win a round. That's what it really feels like for this guy. Chiesa doesn't really have great striking either, so I was pretty torn on who to pick, but I think you have to go with Chiesa just based on how these two have looked in their past fights.
Yeah, I have a Chiesa decision here. I think he's probably just gonna have some dominant control time, look a little bit better on the feet, and just kind of get a 29-28 or a 30-27 victory.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this fight that much.
It's one of the weaker fights on this card.
Yeah, which is fine.
We have to go to the bathroom eventually.
Exactly.
And I need a nap usually.
Yes, true. Fight number 4, Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. This might be fight of the night. This could easily be a performance bonus for Joshua Van.
The issue is that it's like they're going to get the finish is the issue. Like Van could realistically go and get a finish, but
he doesn't have the most power in his strikes.
And he's a flyweight, so you can't blame him. Can't blame him. Not everyone's KKF.
Facts. Joshua Van is coming off a banger fight at UFC 306 on the prelims. It's like regarded as one of the best fights this year. Of any fight. This fight is a guaranteed banger because Van has crazy volume striking. Cody Durden has good power, which could put out Van or at least drop him a couple times. I could see Van getting dropped and then he wins on volume. That's very likely. With this being a flyweight fight, though, you have to assume it's more likely to go to a decision. Like, I don't see Joshua Van being able to volume strike him to a a win.
It would be at some point getting him on the ground and just like ground and pound, but how much does flyweight ground and pound do?
Yeah, exactly.
Have I ever seen flyweight ground and pound?
Just like flicking.
Stop.
Yeah. So I'm leaning towards Van just from what I saw at UFC 306. I was really impressed. And he's an up-and-comer. He's exciting. I want to see him win.
He might be the top flyweight prospect, so having a little bit of optimism in him, just kind of you got to rock with the young guy and just hope that he gets it done, especially in flyweight. Like typically it's volume and control time. Like if it's going to a decision, like you can have the power, but if you're not landing tons of shots, and I think Van will dominate with volume and then just a little bit of more control time and should be the winner of the fight.
Yeah, should be wraps. All right, let's move on. We got fight number 5 of the early prelims, the last fight, Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. This is a rescheduling. They originally set to fight on, it was 308, I think?
Yeah.
Or 309?
309.
Yeah.
And then Chris Weidman was losing is cool.
Yeah.
He's like, where's my money?
He was crashing.
Where's
out,
my
bro.
money?
Which is fair.
Yeah, it's like Eric Anders pulled out day of.
I would be pissed if I had to go through a weight cut.
Yeah,
and just kill myself.
And a training camp, like you're paying for this training camp,
Yeah.
and then you don't make any money on it. He's
Yeah.
like, I showed up. I should get my like the 50% of like showing up.
100%. He should. Yeah. But I do see the UFC's point where it's like if they did that for everyone, then the UFC would go broke because then you just have people pulling out.
Yeah.
And they'd still get paid. So it's a lose-lose situation. But Chris Weidman, I think we said it on the 309 predictions when he was still on there. I think we said the same thing. Like, he's older.
Mm-hmm.
He still looks okay. It's just hard to put faith in someone who has taken a lot of damage in their career. They've been KO'd against someone. I mean, Eric Anders isn't, it's not like he's the best prospect or anything, but I think if you look at their most recent performance, Anders has had a war with Marc-Andre Barriault, who's not a slouch, Canadian brethren.
Shout out.
And he looks like he wants to win, bite down the mouthpiece, get a KO, willing to take some punches. Whereas I think Chris Weidman, when he starts feeling those big punches being landed, he's just going to be like, do I really need to do this? Is this really going to help my career?
And Chris Weidman, he's just like one of those like fighters right now in the UFC that just like, he's just like a SoCal dad. He's just a dad. Like, how much grit does he really got? Like he's going out there and like, if it's easy for him, he'll take it. But is he really going to dig deep?
I don't think so. This was probably a toss up for me. I could have gone either way because, Chris Weidman has good wrestling. If he used that, I'd be like, okay, could go either way. But I think Chris Weidman, he likes to put on a show for the fans. So I see this being a standing matchup. And I think Eric Anders just has that grit.
Yeah, I see Eric Anders coming out and getting a late round finish.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like a round 3 KO, but
yeah, that's kind of what I was
decision.
thinking.
I still think Anders probably picks up the win in the decision.
Yeah, that's what I would say. But who knows? Could go either way. All right, Dylan, let's move on to the prelims. Walk us through your picks.
All right, moving on to the first fight of the prelims. It's starting off with a bang. My boy, our boy, Brian Battle comes out and he's fighting Randy Brown. We have Battle coming into this fight. He's 12-2 and he's the minus 230 favorite, where we have Randy Brown who's 19-5 and he's plus 190. Battle really made a name for himself and put himself on the map, adding to that stacked future of welterweight at UFC Paris. However, Randy Brown is no slouch, and this should be a real test for Battle. The winner of this fight could potentially be looking at a shot to get into the rankings after 310. While the odds have Battle as a decent favorite, I see this fight being very close, as both fighters are very similar in terms of skills. They're very spread out in terms of their wins. They're very mixed up between like KO, submissions, and decisions, so should be very equal. And Lucas, do we think that Battle is a little bit overhyped following UFC Paris?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, he's good. Like, he has a really great resume at a welterweight, but he's not like a top prospect.
Yeah.
We don't rate him as highly as a Carlos Prates or a Miles Morales, but he's good. He's a volume striker. He's kind of like a little bit Max Holloway-esque, where he stands in the pocket, gets into boxing range, and just trades. With Randy Brown really likes to keep his range. So I think if Randy Brown can keep his range, it might be an easy fight for Randy Brown, but Battle is not afraid to take damage.
Yeah, so Battle will go in there and
exactly.
Like, if he's losing, he'll be like, all right, pushing for the finish.
Yeah.
And it's like, with Battle is like, he wants it now. Like, he saw what he did at Paris and he's like, oh, my stock is higher than it's ever been. I have to capitalize on this. Whereas Randy Brown's kind of just like doing his thing, but Battle's on the up. So he's really got to capitalize on this. Ideally, he'd go out there and get a finish. Like, if he can string together back-to-back finishes, I find it hard to believe that he's not going and fighting a Neil Magny next.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think ultimately, I'm rooting with my boy Brian Battle. He's my dog. I'm hoping he goes out there and gets the finish, but I wouldn't be surprised if he lost to Randy Brown, just because Randy Brown is still really good.
Yeah, it's actually not horrible betting odds if you bet on Randy Brown. Like, he's plus 190. I wouldn't bet on Brian Battle at minus 230. He's just still a little bit too green, and he is just a little bit too willing to take punches, in my opinion. Like we saw in the Kevin Jousset fight at UFC Paris. Like, he took a lot of damage, but he gave more damage. So, like, if he can do the same in this fight, which I think he will, then he's going to win again.
Yeah.
And it might be by a late round stoppage or just a volume decision win. I could see both of those options. I actually did go with Brian Battle in this one. You have to. He has a little bit of plot armor. Dana wants him to win, so you have to imagine that.
What song does he walk out to?
I can't say the name of it.
Like, do you think he does it again?
No, I don't think so.
Like, he's not in Paris. Where is 310?
Actually, I don't know. Is it just in Vegas?
Might be.
That's a good question.
I think it's T-Mobile. So yeah, Vegas.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
One more thing is that, did you see what I sent you yesterday? I did not know that Brian Battle used to be a heavyweight.
Dude, I didn't know that either.
240.
That's insane.
And he's only like 5'11". Like, he's not like he's big. He might be 6 feet. It was 240. He was a heavyweight.
I knew that he used to be a middleweight. Like, I knew he used to be a little bit bigger, but I didn't know heavyweight. That's crazy, dude.
Like, he was fat.
It's like the Jared Cannonier arc. But Jared Cannonier's still huge.
Yeah, Brian Battle dropped like 4 weight classes. Like, he cuts down 70 pounds.
That's wild. And then have you seen him with the hair?
Oh, it's
disgusting.
gross.
Also, are we going to talk about DC? Dude's literally 375 pounds.
I know.
That's disgusting.
Like, how are you rich, like professional athlete, but you let your body go so far? Like, you have all the money in the world to pay for a personal trainer.
And what is he, 5'9"?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
And that's pushing it. They round up for him.
Built like a bowling ball. Yeah, so I think we both have Brian Battle. I really hope he can get this. I'm going to be really disappointed. Also, the order of this card is so weird. We haven't talked about this yet, but
with this next fight,
Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling, who's like a number 1 contender fight, pretty much, and they're on the prelims.
Okay, but Lucas, let me talk about this. Is Uncle Dana saving us by not putting this on the main card? Because this has potential to be the worst fight of the night.
It does have that potential.
Like, neither fighter are known for being exciting. Like, they're known for putting on snooze fests.
Yeah, but I think for like... there's like a, if you do like a graph, you have casual fans at the bottom and like hardcore fans at the top. I think the more close to hardcore you get, the more you want this fight to be on the main card, because we care about the future of the divisions. Someone who's watching a pay-per-view for the first, second, third time, they don't know that this is going to be a number 1 contender fight. They don't know about the, a potential matchup with Ilia Topuria in the future. Whereas we want to see this and want to see the outcome because of what it means for the division. Casual fans don't care about that.
That's true.
So the fact that Dana's putting Choy on the main card, like, he wants that to be an exciting fight, like he's done with, light heavyweights on the main card.
Or Bo Nickel, he's an exciting guy on the main card.
I wouldn't say that much, but
yeah, but how do you go from having 2 cards this year with Bo Nickel on the main card to 2 cards to a card with Movsar Evloev on the prelims?
And number 5 rank versus number 9 rank.
Yeah, this, like,
in the best division.
The worst, at worst, these guys are 1 fight away from a title fight for whoever the winner is.
Yeah.
Like, they might be a Diego Lopez away from Ilia Topuria.
Yeah.
But that's at worst, too. Like, if Evloev came out here and, like, tapped out Sterling or vice versa, Sterling tapped out Evloev in the first round, it might be like, oh, maybe he skips the line, you know?
100%.
If Diego Lopez is just going to sit on the shelf and wait, Dana will be like, this is a more intriguing matchup,
Yeah, I could see that happening. For this matchup, though, Evloev is quite a bit younger. He's a bit more strong. He's big. He's a big featherweight. He's ripped. Whereas Aljamain Sterling's coming up from bantamweight. He has filled in a little bit. He had that fight against Calvin Kattar at UFC 300. But again, size matters. Age matters. Pause. But
are you sure about...
yeah. Age matters, definitely.
Yes, it does. And anyone who doesn't think that way, you're gross.
Are we still talking about UFC?
I don't know.
I am. Anyways, he's
Same.
35 now? 36? So he's getting up there.
Aljo's not 36.
He's 35, I think.
No.
Let's see. Fact check incoming.
This should be like a new segment. We should have like an infographic. How old is Aljamain Sterling? 35. What?
35. I told you. Yeah. Black don't crack. That's what they say.
That is crazy.
I know. So I honestly, like, I want Aljo to win so bad, and he's being so underrated in this fight. I think it's like so close to a pick'em. I think I could go either way.
I think it's like a 60-40, maybe Evloev Sterling, maybe 55-45.
Yeah.
It's a lot closer than these odds say.
Yeah.
And I think it just, because Sterling might be the most underrated fighter inside of the whole UFC. Like, he's just forever slept on, even as a champion. I know that he didn't become champion in the best circumstances. He basically had it handed to him in the form of an elbow to the head. But he still is so good. And like Evloev really hasn't had to face an elite grappler outside of Diego Lopez, who was coming in on short notice and obviously isn't going to look to go and grapple in a fight. Like Diego Lopez coming into a fight is going to look to fight. You know, he's going to look to throw.
Yeah.
And Sterling is actually going to be a real test on the ground.
Yeah.
Like
he's a point fighter.
Yeah. If Evloev gives up his back to Sterling, it's over.
Yeah.
Like Sterling is one of the most dangerous people when you give up your back.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough one to predict. I eventually did go with Evloev. I think he's going to get another decision win for his beautiful resume that already has so many decision wins. And yeah.
I think this is our first disagreements on the card. I have Sterling decision, mostly just because I don't want to see Evloev win. Like I try to be logical with my picks.
Yeah. But
no, it's full heart. I put my heart into my predictions.
And that's why the comments respect you. They love you for that.
And they just hate me. They hate me, guys. Like, watch me every day, but you hate me.
All right, let's move on. Fight number 3, Vicente Luque, ranked number 14 versus Themba Gorimbo, who's getting his first shot at getting into the rankings.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
So we have, over the last couple of years, we have Luque, who has been relatively inactive with only 1 fight and 4 canceled bouts. However, Luque has some impressive wins under his belt, including the champion Belal Muhammad. I didn't realize that.
That's bizarre.
I knew that Belal beat Luque, but I didn't realize that Luque beat Belal.
That's so weird.
He also has wins over former champions like RDA and Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
However, we are talking about former Luque. You know, he does have a career. When he wins, he finishes his opponent 86% of the time. But the thing that matters is he going to get finished before that happens? You know, like his chin is definitely not the way it's used to be. He's definitely on the back half of his career. He's over that horizon. You know, he's on the downhill. He's headed home. And I think that Themba Gorimbo on his 4-fight win streak has real potential to put out Luque.
He's hot right now. He's really hot. He's super athletic, like just super like muscular. He has a lot of power. And yeah, has a lot of momentum right now. So it's hard not to pick with him. But Vicente Luque, it's kind of like that Chase Super Clay Guida matchup where someone has so much experience and Vicente Luque is still he's not as far gone as Clay Guida is. He's still ranked. He still beats like the guys who aren't quite ready to go into the rankings. And Themba Gorimbo for me is like on the cusp.
Yeah. So it's interesting because Luque, I think, is obviously a better striker than Gorimbo. But like Gorimbo, if he gets his fight on the ground, is going to dominate Luque. Like it's just going to be like, I could see the second he takes him down to being a quick tap. You know, like Luque's just like,
Robert Whittaker style.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, like, like Adesanya, like 10 seconds. Like he didn't even grab you, bro. I'm out. Next person that Hamzat fights, the second he takes him down, just immediately taps. Like, I don't want it.
Honestly,
I don't know. I think this fight's gonna be back and forth. I think we're gonna see a good mix of exchanges on the feet, which Luque is gonna win, and then Gorimbo on the ground winning those exchanges. But ultimately, I think that Gorimbo is going to win because I could see Luque starting slow and just never really picking it up.
That's
just
fair. Because
he's just not as active, and Gorimbo's been quite active over the last few years. So I'm rocking with the younger guy.
Yeah, that's kind of the theme of this video. I'm rocking with Gorimbo as well. I really hope he can get it done because I like to see new people in the top 15.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
It's like we have a lot of matchups of young guys versus veterans, and I love to see those matchups because there's always like there's so much more interesting than this next fight we see where it's 2 old guys. We're going to talk about it, or 2 young guys. And it's like, what's the point of this fight? What's the point of that fight? But when you have the older guy versus younger guy, it's like, if this is a real test, you know, and it's going to be a great fight.
Yeah. I have to interrupt you. I'll make this quick, but I just remembered talking about Hamzat. I had a dream last night where Dricus tapped out Hamzat. And I'm not kidding.
Why were you dreaming about Dricus? Is this a normal person you dream about?
Oh, no, I'm not beating the allegations.
You be dreaming about him kissing his coach. You're like, Dricus, me next. Me next.
I never should have shared that story. Let's move on to fight number 4. We got Dominick Reyes, again, ranked number 12 versus Anthony Smith, ranked number 13. Another fight that I think should be opening up the main card.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen this as the opener, and then you have Sterling versus Evloev as the second fight.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense why that didn't happen.
Yeah, that would have been a stacked main card.
Yeah,
honestly.
It would have been basically what 307 was going to be.
Yeah.
Or was it 308?
I think it was 30.
It was 308 that had Gane and Volkov, and then also Sterling and Evloev. Yeah. Like they were on the main card of that card, which was so stacked. And then
because Evloev in Abu Dhabi, of course they're going to put him on the main card. Dana sending him to the shot. Ban.
All right, so in the final fight of the prelims, we have Dominick Reyes, ranked number 12, up against Anthony Smith. This fight, I don't love it.
Why?
Just because I don't think it does anything for either guy's career.
Really?
Like what does it do? Like,
it's weird that to me, it's weird that Dominick Reyes is ranked higher than Anthony Smith.
yeah, just because after the loss to John Jones, went on a 3-fight losing streak and finally got into the win column in June.
Yeah, Dustin Jacoby, that was a crazy win. First round, I think was it TKO or KO? It doesn't matter, but it was impressive, and it's like, oh, he might be back.
But it's like if Reyes wins this fight, what does he go from there? Like, where does he go? Is he going to go and fight and
Uzdemir?
That's what I was literally going to say. Was Uzdemir?
No, he gets KO'd.
He gets destroyed. Like,
yeah.
Or like same thing. Anthony Smith beats Dominick Reyes. What does that do for Anthony Smith? On paper, he should be fighting for the belt, but like
prayer matchup after this. I think it's tough because with Dominick Reyes, he doesn't really have that much of a chin anymore.
Neither does Anthony Smith.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Anthony Smith doesn't hit hard. Dominick Reyes hits hard. So I think in this matchup, you have Anthony Smith, who's not going to be able to really hurt or put out enough volume to win that much rounds against Dominick Reyes. Whereas Dominick Reyes, he's not going to have to worry about the power coming back. So I think he's going to be able to I would love to see a highlight KO on Anthony Smith.
Dude, it would be awesome. Like, on paper, it would be like fight of the night, you
exactly.
know, like performance bonus. I don't know. I just think that like this fight, what I wrote down is ultimately comes down to which guy's going to go out there and suck less. You know, neither fighter has much of a chin, so it'll take one or two big shots to really put the other one out. And I don't really see that you see those big shots coming from Smith, and I think that we could see those coming from Reyes.
Yeah,
you know, especially with him getting that last win. You know, maybe he's got a little momentum building. You know, we always joke about title run starts now for him, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think win or lose, it doesn't really do a whole lot for the other person because neither of them have really title potential. They're too old, and they're just going to be maybe a slightly higher ranking as a stepping stone for the next generation.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, and also like let's just hope that Dominick Reyes can put out Anthony Smith early because like I don't want to see a third round of this fight. Like that would just be like it would look like two drunk idiots, sloppy, just like.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of light heavyweights go to the third round and just not have cardio.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Like even Albert's cardio, I wasn't super impressed
it's not
with.
good. Yeah. It's not good. Yeah. Black Jag, brother.
Yeah,
it's because he's got to haul around that 9-inch anaconda.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
All right, let's move on to our main card predictions. This order is so weird. Fight number 1, we have Nate Landwehr versus Doohoo Choy. You're a big Doohoo Choy guy.
Like these were like fighters I was like, oh, okay, I kind of know them.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't like
they're not big names.
No. In no means are they big names.
No. Nate Landwehr, he's a weird fighter to predict because he gets dropped pretty often, but he always seems to get back up and not quit, which I like. It makes for exciting fights. And that's why Dana's putting this on the main card. I want to ask you, why do you think this is on the main card? And come 3 days before fight day, is it going to get moved down lower?
I think 100% Dana loves to do the stupid stuff where he starts switching up fights. Like I could see Sterling and Evloev moving into the second fight and then Reyes and Smith moving into the opening bout, or even just like moving Sterling and Evloev up and then like you could move like the Bryce Mitchell fight first. But it just really doesn't make sense when you have like the better featherweight fight, you know? I don't think that it's jumping ahead a little bit, but I don't think that the Bryce Mitchell versus Gracie fight's gonna be all that good.
No, it's not.
So why is that on there when it's a lower level featherweight fight? They're the same weight class. It is extremely lower level. Like in terms of skill, like that fight's gonna be nowhere near as close. Especially when you have Bryce Mitchell who might be missing a chromosome now.
It honestly might just be for the American audience.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But talking about the opening fight, I don't know why this fight is here, and I think there is a real possibility that stuff's going to get moved around. We see it every single card, and it really just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand the marketing perspective of it. It's not like it makes you more money.
Well, it's annoying for us, too, because we do this in order, and then the order changes, like, the day we post it, usually.
Yeah, and
like I wouldn't be surprised if I posted this, and then I'd go on Twitter and see that the order's changed.
Yeah, and it's also, like we do predictions of the main card with our boys. So like you know, we're doing all this research and then show up fight day. Actually, these two fights are on the main card now, and these ones are on the prelims.
Yeah,
and it's like, Why?
All right, let's talk about Choy's record. I want to read you his record. So he's on the main card of pay-per-view in 2024 as of right now. He's coming off one win over Bill Algeo by TKO.
Great win.
Then a loss to Kyle Nelson in 2023.
Tough loss.
Then a loss to Charles Jourdain in 2019. Then a loss to Jeremy Stevens in 2018. Then a loss to Cub Swanson in 2016.
Those are his 5 most recent fights?
Most recent. 2016. It's been 8 years. Almost
Title
9
run
years.
starts now.
No, stop. And he's hardly even an active fighter. Like, it's hard to consider him an active fighter right now. And in all my picks, I've been taking into account more of the age and their activity. So I have to go with Nate Landwehr.
Oh, I have Landwehr getting a first round KO.
Oh, yeah?
Silly Choy.
The last thing I have written down here is I think these boys are going to trade in the middle of the octagon, so I could see an early finish, similar to what you were saying. Let's move on to the second fight of the night. We got Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Such a stupid fight to put on the main card. Like, this is similar, like you were saying, to Aljo versus Evloev. It's just 2 levels lower.
Yeah. It's a guy fighting into the rankings and a guy who is number 13 ranked and coming off of a seizure KO, and it's like,
Yeah.
this guy might have to retire if he loses bad. Like, who knows what he's actually going to do? You don't know what he's going to do. Like, one of the most vicious KOs I have ever seen.
Now, this is a good matchup, though, for Bryce Mitchell because you don't want him going in there with another hard-hitting striker.
That's true.
Like, he's gone against Taporia, the hardest-hitting striker. Josh Emmett, pound for pound, again, one of the hardest hitters. And what happened to him last time, like you were saying, it sucks to see. So having a matchup against Kron Gracie, who hasn't really trained striking, it feels like. He's really just on the ground. And I get the last name Gracie, like, it has some value, but this dude, like, if you look at his fighter profile, his headshot, it looks like he, like, has bedhead. His hair is just all to one side.
I can't say that I frequent Kron Gracie's fighter profile, to be honest. Like, it's not like I'm spending a lot of time
Didn't
there.
you just say that you edged over it last night? Is that what you're saying? All right. Kron Gracie has only had 3 fights in the UFC, and he's lost 2 of them to Charles Jourdain and Cub Swanson, both by decision. So I just don't see how in our world he wins this fight.
And why is it here?
And why is it here? But there's no possible way.
Like, I'd much rather see like an exciting, like that Joshua Van fight on the main card, because that's something that's gonna be
Honestly.
exciting. Like this fight is actually like means nothing.
This might be a stinky fight.
Like, I expect this to be like the co-main of like a fight night, like a crap Apex fight night. Be like, oh, Bryce Mitchell making his return, a ranked featherweight bout.
I could actually see Bryce Mitchell having a bit of a striking advantage. Like, as weird as that is, Bryce Mitchell has like a big striking advantage in this matchup. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bryce Mitchell KO.
Well, and it's so interesting when we talk about Bryce Mitchell, like the fall from Gracie had, like he was the featherweight prospect. It wasn't Lopez, it wasn't Evloev, it wasn't Taporia, it was Bryce Mitchell, and then just kind of fell from that potential just like dropped.
Well, yeah, the undefeated matchup between him and Taporia was hype.
Yeah.
And he did like decent until he wasn't doing decent anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's Taporia. Like,
exactly.
They're clearly 2 levels different. You know, like there's a gap between them. It might even be 3 or 4 levels.
Yeah. I mean, most likely this is going to be a Bryce Mitchell decision win.
Yeah, that's what I have. I think it's just the safest shot.
Yeah. Especially like if he's lacking confidence right now. Could be tough for him to get a finish.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to where it gets really exciting on this card. We have Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov, rescheduled from 308. Now it's on 310. I was so sad to see this fight go, but I am really happy that it's finally here.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. And this is a rematch too. So it does have, we're building off of the last fight, which did go to a decision, which is kind of something I kept in mind while I was thinking about what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
But I just don't know what it is. I just don't trust Cyril Gane. I don't actually think he's that good. I know that he's fast and he's a good striker, but like, I just don't trust the guy. I just like, from everything that I've seen from all of his fights, I'm just like, And then you have Volkov, who it's like, oh yeah, he's like the 4th ranked heavyweight, but heavyweight is kind of stinker.
Yeah, it's tough. I think this fight was, again, like, the odds are actually not very close. They have it as a plus 235 underdog for Volkov, which is understandable because he did lose the first fight, but I think it's very different circumstances. Volkov's been much more active. He's been facing the top guys.
Yeah, and he beat Pavlovich.
Yeah, which is super impressive. I think, like I said, activity is just so important for me right now. And whereas Gane, he took some time off to film that Netflix show, and then he also, what happened? he pulled out, or like this fight got canceled, and then he lost to John Jones. So like he hasn't had a great last 3 years.
Yeah, it's really been movies where Volkov's been fighting. You know, he did tap out to Tom Aspinall, but he came out, he beat Pavlovich. You know, like he's on an okay run. Like he beat Aspinall, but Aspinall's elite.
Yeah,
you know, these guys are great.
You mean he lost Aspinall?
Yeah, sorry, he lost Aspinall, but like these guys are both great, but of course they're not elite like Aspinall is.
Yeah, it's tough because I was super impressed with Volkov. Like I do want to pick him a lot, but Cyril Gane has the speed for heavyweight. Like he's relatively fast, but he didn't look fast in the John Jones fight. Like I'll say that much. He did not look that good. So it's like, is he gonna be like really improved, or is he gonna be the same? If he looks the same as he did in that Jones fight, I am picking Volkov. 100%.
Well, it's too late to pick him after the fight already starts.
no, yeah, I know, but you know what I mean. Like if he looks like that, I don't think he has much hope. But in his fighter interviews, he's like, "Oh, I wasn't fully in it in that Jones fight. I'm renewed now." But they all say that.
Yeah,
you can't trust these flyers, man. These hoes be lying. I'm gonna go for the plus 235 underdog Volkov to win this fight.
How?
Screw it. Decision.
Yeah, I have a Volkov decision, especially with it only being 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Like their last fight went to decision, and like Volkov's coming off that decision win over Pavlovich. Like I think these guys will throw, but like they're not the guys that are like guaranteed knockout. Like if there was a knockout, I would not be surprised. But just with how it is and the state of heavyweight now, they're basically flyweights.
I also think Volkov might still be improving, which is crazy. Like it looks like
I think he's only 31 or something. Like he's not like he's crazy old.
Let's hold on, fact check. How old is Alexander Volkov?
Like 33.
36.
Oh man, we're a little off there.
He's cooked.
Update, he's actually 36, not 31. I don't know why I thought he was young.
How old is Cyril Gane? 34. So it's not that big of a difference, and heavyweight isn't as big of like a. It doesn't mean as much.
Yeah,
when
because
they're older.
There's no weight cuts.
Exactly, and they're not
unless
speed
you're Chris
heavy.
Barnett.
It's a brutal weight cut to get down to heavyweight.
Yeah, and it's not like Volkov like 2 fights ago when just got absolutely just knocked out, like lights out against Tom. It's almost better that he tapped out.
That's 100%
it doesn't affect the chin.
Yeah, and Gane is not tapping out Volkov.
No, and he might not knock him out.
Almeida, I might pick Almeida over Volkov just because of that ground game, but Gane doesn't have that threat. So let's move on to our 4th fight. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry. Rescheduled short notice, but Ian Garry was already going to fight at Tampa next week. So I think it's not that much of a difference. Like I wouldn't call this a short notice matchup.
No, it's a week earlier, and like moving up your camp a week is not that big of a deal.
It's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, it's an undefeated matchup, which is always one of the most exciting things that you can get in the UFC. Yeah. And I believe it's a 5-rounder.
Yes.
So we're going to really see what both guys have to offer. It's going to be Shavkat and Ian Garry's first 5-rounder, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't think Ian Garry has headlined a fight night.
His most recent thing was the MVP, which was a 3-rounder as a featured fight. So yeah, I think it's both their first 5-round fight.
And the Jeff Neal fight was definitely 3 rounds, and I don't think Neil Magny was an Apex main event.
Well, it's not like Shavkat goes 5 rounds. Tell me a little bit about Shavkat.
Well, he's actually 18 wins, 18 finishes, if you guys didn't know that.
Have you seen it? Chael Sonnen glazed that.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Like he was like
he's a casual.
Chael Sonnen was like this is like Khabib stuff, and I was like let's calm down. He's like you know, like Khabib was 28-0 and he just beat up all these plumbers and like taking them decision, but this Shavkat Rakhmonov guy, he's 18 wins, 18 finishes. He's unreal.
Yeah, I mean he is, but that stat gets old real fast when you keep saying it. What else do we have to say about this? I think Ian Garry is being massively underrated.
I think so too. Like
he's good.
He's good. It's just that people don't like him as a person. You know, as a fighter, he's a good fighter.
Yeah.
But people think that he's just weird.
And he has almost as good wins as Shavkat, right? Both these guys have wins over Neil Magny and Jeff Neal. The only difference is that Shavkat fought an old Wonder Boy and Ian Garry fought an old MVP.
Yeah.
So I would say like...
I don't know how good MVP is though. I think Thompson beats MVP. I think MVP's trash.
I think Thompson could be MVP as well. So it's like maybe a little bit...
No, but it's the same. There's no difference in it.
Exactly.
The only issue, or the only difference, not issue, is that Shavkat finished all 3. Garry went to a decision with all 3, and one of them was like a split. I think Neil Magny might have been a split decision.
It was Jeff Neal.
Jeff Neal was a split decision.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's tough.
I don't know. I think that it's really interesting with how Garry, he's coming in with so much confidence, but obviously you need to have this confidence. Yeah. You know, he's like I'm gonna beat Shavkat, and then he's like I'm gonna go fight Colby next week. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, he's saying that he's gonna go beat Shavkat, and then he's gonna kick Joaquin Buckley out of the Tampa main event and fight
Womp womp
and
Buckley.
fight Colby Covington.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that was even happening. Like, there's no hype for it.
Yeah, I won't be at that. I have to work.
What?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
You love Colby Covington, though.
I know. And I don't like Joaquin Buckley. Like, I feel like so much of this fight is just like, it's just pretty straight up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we have 2 undefeated guys. Oh, it's also they have the best combined record out of undefeated fighters ever. It just passed Paulo Costa and Adesanya. That was like 31, and this is like 33.
Oh, okay.
Combined undefeated wins.
Okay.
So it's like,
yeah, I guess Paulo Costa didn't have that many wins when he fought Izzy.
he was
Yeah.
always-
Super green. I think, yeah, this is the matchup I'm looking forward to the most because it does have title implications for welterweight and it has the most implications for our sanity.
I know.
Because if Shavkat loses to Ian Garry, I mean, we're never going to live
you
that
guys
down.
are gonna have to like. I'm probably gonna have to like I don't even know. Like, you're gonna have to come and like watch me sleep to make sure that I don't just.
I already do that.
I don't just kick into the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm so excited for this fight just because it's like it's another chance to see Shavkat. You know.
Yeah, Shavkat's definitely much better in the clinch. He's better with submissions and just overall grappling. So I think what Ian Garry's going to try and do, he's going to be trying to stay on the outside. He probably feels like he has striking speed and movement advantage, like just better footwork, which he might
I
have.
think in terms of striking skill, I think he probably has better technique and like fundamentals when it comes to.
But he doesn't have as much power.
No. Shavkat has more power, and Shavkat's just so scrappy.
Yeah.
You know, he's very much like, he's good because he's so scrappy, you know? And like the second he gets his arm around your neck, you're gone.
I think if Ian Garry gets pushed up to the cage early, I think it's wraps. Like, that just shows how the fight's going to go. But if he can like avoid for like 2-3 minutes and like circle and circle and circle, it's going to be tiring for him. So that's also a bad thing. But it does show that he can actually maneuver around Shavkat. Once Shavkat gets a hold of him, I think it's going to be really tough to get back up and win the round after that. Especially, I do think with the aura that Shavkat has, I think judges are more likely to give him more rounds. Like, oh, he got a takedown. Oh, he had a submission attempt. That counts for a lot when it's Shavkat.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think with like Ian Garry, it's like he has very little ground game.
Yeah.
You know? So like the clinch and the ground, it's going to be like.
It's not the worst because we saw that he could wrestle against MVP.
Yeah, but it's like he's also
MVP.
wrestling MVP, who's basically a certified kickboxer. You know?
Pretty much.
He has no ground game.
Yeah, he did compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament, but it's like it's just doing that. It's a different thing.
I
like,
also did jiu-jitsu. So.
Yeah, exactly. Jiu-jitsu in the UFC is much different than a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yeah.
It's completely different art forms. Like, not completely different, but it's application-wise, right?
Yeah.
You got to mix it in.
Ultimately, co-main event, what is your prediction? Who walks away with their 0 still?
Well, I don't think Shavkat's going to be able to find an early round KO or submission. Like, I think Ian Garry's going to get hurt. Shavkat's probably going to land like a 1-2 down the pipe. That's going to hurt him. Ian Garry's definitely going to land some big shots on Shavkat, and we're going to be freaking out.
Oh, because Shavkat lets a few too many go through.
I know, but he has a great chin. Like, I'm not that worried about
it's just
him.
like Ilya. Like, you know, it's like, or Pereira. Like, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So I have Shavkat. It's probably going to be submission, like 4th round, or a TKO win. I think he's...
Yeah, it could be like ground and pound kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think he's going to keep his O, and I think he's going to keep that 19 wins, 19 finishes stat. I don't see it going to decision.
I think the thing with it, too, is that Garry has a good chin. His chin's never been knocked out. So it's like, I think if Shavkat's going to win, I think it's going to come by submission. So that's why I have a round 3 submission. I originally had round 2, but I think that just this fight's going to start a little bit slow. The first round's going to
definitely.
This first round, I think we're going to see very low volume.
Well, we've seen them sparring. Like,
Yeah.
they're very tentative, right?
Yeah. And then, but like once Shavkat opens it up, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're definitely right in the sense that people are going to be calling it boring in the first round. You know, they're going to be like, oh, why aren't they engaging? Like, just scrap already. And then like 3rd and 4th or 2nd and 3rd round, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the final matchup. We have Alexander Pantoja, the champion, versus Asakura, who is coming from Rizin. He was a 2-time Rizin champion. He has lost as well in Rizin, so that's not a good sign.
Wait, I'm just thinking, coming into this, is Pantoja the only champion to defend to like main event two pay-per-views as the champion?
This year?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Sean main evented 2.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to do that math right now. I think this is a pretty crazy matchup, though, to put on the main card of the last pay-per-view of the year.
Think obviously they thought it was going to be the co-main.
Yeah, but I know, like, yeah, it sucks. Well, it doesn't suck. It's not the worst thing that's ever happened, but it's not the best.
Yeah, like it's like because the card's so good. It's like
Yeah.
this is for the diehard fans. This isn't a casuals pay-per-view.
No,
You know,
that's true.
Like the biggest guy that the casuals probably know is Dominick Reyes and Anthony Smith. Like those are the guys they know.
Yeah, I think Asakura getting a title shot off of his debut is crazy. I don't think it's ever happened before, right? It's history.
Think so? Oh, maybe like Ben Askren wouldn't have gotten a title shot.
No. And neither did Michael Chandler. He had to fight Dan Hooker first. So it's, if he wins, it's definitely history. I think it's also history, the fact that he's just getting a UFC debut. Let us know in the comments if we're wrong about that. But let's talk about the actual matchup itself. We've talked about Pantoja. He's one of the most underrated champions right now in 2024. He has 2 title defenses. He's probably looking to make it a third here. Asakura, on the other hand, he's more of a striker, but he does train with Merab, and Merab is one of the most dominant wrestlers right now. So don't underestimate his takedown defense, but also don't take sparring footage and training footage as, you know, what actually happens.
Yeah, it's a lot different than what actually happens in the cage.
Yeah, Merab isn't actually trying to maul him.
Yeah.
He's trying to let him work and understand.
I don't know. It's so interesting having someone that we have no film, because Ryzen and UFC is just completely different.
Yeah, they're different rule sets.
Like, yeah, you can watch him fight, but you can only take so much out of it. You know,
Yeah.
they're not even fighting in an octagon; they're fighting in a wrestling ring. You know, like it's like a boxing ring.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think what really helped me make my decision on this fight, because we don't have much tape on Asakura in terms of the UFC MMA rules, is when we saw De Ridder come to the UFC in just like last month and have his debut. He's a double champion in one, and De Ridder had his debut against GM3 Gerald Mearshart, your lookalike, and he took him to a 3rd round.
Yeah.
So I have no faith in people from other promotions anymore. I don't care how fun Asakura's style is. I don't care how good he was in Ryzen. It's a different level of competition in the UFC. The UFC by far has the best competition, and it's not close for any promotion, especially someone like Asakura who actually has losses in Ryzen, like I mentioned. You're going up against not just a champion, but I would say a dominant champion.
He might be the 2nd best flyweight champion of all time.
Exactly. Who has 2 wins over most of the division's best fighters.
Yeah.
2 wins over Royval, 2 wins over Moreno, a win over Kai Kara France. He has wins over literally everyone. So how is Asakura going to come in and show him anything different?
I think that it's just a Hail Mary right now from the UFC trying to be like, flyweight is so stale. Everyone's fought everyone. You know, that's why we had Steve Erceg fighting in the main event of UFC 301. You know, that's why I'm surprised that Tatsuro Taira even had to fight someone, like had to go and fight Royval and didn't just get this title shot, you know? Because it's getting stale.
Yeah.
It's the same fighters fighting over and over again. Like, how many times are we going to see Brandon Moreno fight? He's fought everyone in flyweight 30 times, you know? So it's like, it feels like a Hail Mary from Dana to be like, if Asakura can get it done here, he becomes champion, then you have obviously you'd have a rematch versus Pantoja. You have a fight versus
I don't know.
It may not be as guaranteed.
Dude, they're giving him Taira. Even though Taira's off a
Taira's
loss.
off the loss.
Who cares?
Like, you have 3 guys coming off of wins. Like, you have Kai Kara France coming off the win over Erceg, Royval coming off the win of Taira, and then Moreno coming off the win of Albazi.
You know what they do? If Asakura wins, they give Tatsuro Taira Amir Albazi and pray that he wins. They give Pantoja a rematch versus Brandon Moreno for a number 1 title or contender spot, and then Asakura versus Tatsuro Taira main event in Japan. That's what they're going to try and do.
That'd be kind of
They
fun.
have to. They want that so bad.
Yeah, like that fight eventually is going to happen, and it's going to be so huge.
And if Dana, if Asakura wins, Dana has pulled off the best trade ever.
Yeah.
Not even trade, the best, like...
Yeah, you just signed him straight up.
Yeah, the best signing ever. Like, I don't think people realize how much star power this guy has in Japan. Everyone knows him in Japan. Like, if you watch his YouTube videos, he's, like, famous.
Well, like, what happens if he just comes out and gets, like, finished in the first round by Pantoja? Then it's like, oh no.
Pantoja doesn't have finishing ability like that, but if it does happen, I'm gonna cry.
Like, just like, I don't know, like scramble on him and take his back and submit him.
I love Japanese fighters. They're so fun.
They are.
They have so much grit and heart.
Like, yeah, they're just like, I don't know.
That's why the Macau fight was, I know. Look, guys, I know they're not all Japanese.
Yeah.
Asian fighters in general just have so much grit and heart.
And it's just like, because like they put so much of like what they do in sports. It's across all sports with Asian athletes. Is like they really take like accountability, and they're like, I'm doing this for my country. You know, like they put it behind them, they put it on their back, and they go out there to show out.
And they're relentless. Like, their training,
Oh yeah.
They probably train the hardest of anyone.
Yeah.
Other than Dagestan
Yeah,
fighters,
well,
maybe.
That's borderline like illegal.
I think Pantoja is going to embarrass Kai Asakura, honestly. I think it's going to be a 5-round domination, and then we're going to get a Japan Fight Night main event versus him versus someone else. I don't think they're going to kill Tetsuro Taira. Like, they're not going to match.
Save that.
They're going to want to save that for sure. They don't want to kill two of their biggest Japanese stars. And like I said, I think Kai Asakura has good striking, and he has the ability to knock him down. I don't think he has the ability to put him out in one shot, though.
Yeah.
And with Pantoja's scrambling ability, I don't see Kai Asakura being able to finish him on the ground like he does with those bums in Ryzen.
That's true. And I think ultimately it's going to be one of those things where it's clear that both of us are predicting Pantoja.
Yeah.
But we're kind of like secretly like, it's one of those win-wins. You know, we're predicting Pantoja. We get the prediction right. Awesome. But if Kai Asakura wins, we're like, sweet.
Oh, it'd be great.
You know, like that's who we both want to win, but logically we're going with Pantoja.
Yeah, and it's not like we're not some of those people who think Pantoja is ruining the flyweight division. It's just the fact that he's beaten everybody already. And there's nothing wrong with that. I heard the UFC was actually planning on doing Sean O'Malley versus Pantoja.
Yes, I did see that.
Because it makes sense. They had the history of that sparring footage. Dylan, any final words?
I'm excited.
Yep.
It's just going to be a good card. Like, it's going to be, unfortunately, it's another card where it's going to be 7 hours of sitting in front of the TV because, like, I got to watch this whole card.
Yeah, it's all good.
You know?
It's all good fights.
It's all good fights. And